Can't live without soundtracks. Boy, I went and listened to a lot of soundtracks this week. Those albums that are pretty much perfect beginning to end and our soundtracks. I got a lot of them.
All right. Well, I actually don't have that many soundtracks. I don't know. There's always something playing in my head, and it's normally something I don't like. I tend to go for albums by bands or composers. I guess a soundtrack sort of strikes me as sort of a part, something that has haven't been lopped off of another creature, which is the film. So it doesn't really have integrity, and that it's just a completeness on its own. So that's how I would account for what otherwise is just an unseemly prejudice on my part. It's the orchestral element that really turns me off.
But yeah, so I don't have a ton of soundtracks. In some ways, I think I share some of Eric's aversion, but what I do have are a bunch of fake soundtracks, of soundtracks to movies that never existed. I'm going to talk about those, a couple of those today.
So I picked this is Death and Vanilla for the film Vampire. Okay, so this is a live soundtrack recording to a film screening. So they were there doing it for this film festival, a Swedish film festival, screening a Danish silent horror film, Vampire from 1932.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, by Carl Dreyer.
Yeah,
The-
yeah, it's right on the cover here, I think. Yep, Carl Theodor Dreyer's.
well,
No. Anyway, it's got a nice gatefold cover and some lacquer printing, the shiny area. Anyway, they did one for the Tenant too, which is
Mm.
also good. And they did another one. I'm not sure what it is, but I have these two. This is a reissue from 2017 on Fire Records, and it was cassette only release at the time. So now, you have a chance to get this. It's creepy and ponderous overall. Death and Vanilla is the band, which is sort of an avant rock band, but and I like their stuff pretty much, but this is better because they hold back a lot. It really fits the film. The film is super creepy. I mean, it's surrealistic, and there's burials and coffins, and they sort of pick up on those as musical themes. It's creating from nothing. They have no prototype to work off of. So it's really an alternative soundtrack. Follows the movie's arc really well, though. And it's essentially an avant rock band as a small four-piece orchestra performing live with the normal instruments, guitar, bass, vibes, synth, zither, glockenspiel, vocals, hand drums, but not all at the same time. It's very austere. And I think what sets this apart is it's got a nice contrast between synthesized atmospheric sound effects. So they're not using tapes or anything. They're doing this on a Moog synthesizer. And then the composed music. But nothing feels random here. It all feels like it's well rehearsed. And of course, it would have to be to follow the editing in the movie. So it's, it's lush and atmospheric, but it has this sonic edge due to the synthesizers. And it's a hypnotizing record. Um, Lockstep dirges, evolving variations, odd time signatures, and those subtle synthy washes as sound effects. That's what I really love about this. It flows overall. It's a two album disc, and it's got trudging to propulsive rhythms depending on the scene. So it really is a strong narrative throughout. It's a standalone record of ominous beauty that any collector of soundtracks or instrumental records would love to own. Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
And this one, uh-oh, this one, I have to pronounce this. Le Chemin du Kathmandu from 1969. composed by Serge Gainsbourg and Jean-Claude Vanier. So Vanier has done several records that are top shelf in my instrumental collections. And then I don't have as much Serge Gainsbourg, but he's also starring in the movie with Jane Birkin, who seems to be on drugs the whole time. But it is a French-Italian production, a hippie road movie from 1969, set in Nepal. The hippie trail, right? It's the beginning of a new age. Oh, yes, the hippie consciousness. And
Oh
so
yeah.
it's Grail for a lot of people collecting soundtracks. Well, recently it was re-released by Finders Keepers. So it's considered Grail because it uses the best French library musicians. Uh, yeah, and it is quite half psych, half proggy, a little bit orchestral, with clarinet, Eastern sound influences. But these studio musicians are having fun in these free jams, and it seems like their first takes. So that part is really good. And then there's a lot of orchestral music in there as well, sort of breaking up the soundtrack. It's very listenable, essentially a psych rock band with orchestra and strings. And I consider this top shelf soundtrack or library for any collectors that are looking for that.
And those are my two. Top shelf, can't live without, essential soundtracks.
Am I up to bat?
All right, baby snakes.
Well, this might be a little bit on the nose, but I picked soundtracks. But I can. Really, this is hard to live without because it's got the totally awesome Mother Sky on it, which is about 13 or 15 minutes of just an intense blast into the outermost reaches of inner space. Great sort of motoric drumming and these sort of uh, spinning guitar and bass lines, and this it's just this fabulous head trip done the way that only Germans of this generation could. Oh yes.
Crazy vocals, huh?
There are, yeah. I think there's some. I think there's a combination of, yeah. On two songs, it's Malcolm Mooney,
Yeah.
the original American vocalist, and then the rest are Demos Suzuki. But these guys, I suppose, should, I don't know, require no introduction. These are all songs that they made for various films that are pretty much impossible to see from what I understand. Certainly, my own efforts have proved unavailing. Six cuts here that sort of accompany different movies, and they really are all very evocative. But as I said, the standout here is Mother Sky from some movie called The Deep End. Yaki Liebzeit or Liebetzeit. Well, I don't know. The man's a machine. I don't know. He's you want, Stuttgart engineering brought to a drum kit. The guy is like he's like the finest that the Bavarian Motorworks can offer, only he's human and he's not in the service of some kind of yuppie mobile. He's driving you straight to the black hole of your own unintuited consciousness. These guys, are a rock band, but they members studied with Karlheinz Stockhausen, so they've got a real sort of serious music pedigree. And the best thing about it throughout is the drumming, probably, just because it really keeps things anchored anchored and moving at the same time, going at just in incredible velocity. So item number one, can soundtracks. I think, Jackson, you chose this before, but it was a different context, so I'm just going to pull it up again. Rosemary's Baby.
Mhm.
with by here, I guess his name has been anglicized to Christopher Komeda, Krzysztof in the Polish. Um, and he's a great jazz musician who made a lot of soundtracks for Polanski. What's great about this is, of course, the sort of famous theme, which is sparse and haunting, that is kind of sung in this girlish voice by Mia Farrow. What's neat about this soundtrack is, of course, is its standalone quality because it has this disembodied spectral thing about it that just kind of floats in the air and sort of oozes its way into your dreams, and through the peripheral sort of conduits of consciousness. So this is a great way to be creeped out and have a movie play in your head. But it does also, of course, benefit from being synced up with the cinematic work itself, which was produced by William Castle, who uh, is perhaps was better known in his day for enlisting all kinds of shticks in the theater, like The Tingler. That was his movie with Vincent Price. Then he wired the seats of the movie houses to provide a shock to moviegoers at key junctures. Rosemary's Baby is a genuinely creepy movie without any gimmicks, and this is a great soundtrack that takes you there and then beyond. So you can listen to it on its own too.
Frightening.
Frightening.
So, both of you guys mentioned the standalone qualities of your choices, and that's definitely true for mine, especially because there are no actual movies that these go with, so they need to stand alone. My first choice is a record from 1993 by the Southeast Michigan band Big Chief. These guys, Southeast Michigan, they're either from Ann Arbor or Detroit. I'm not exactly sure. Big Chief was a metal band mainly. But they had punk roots. I think most of their members have been in punk bands. Sort of most famously, their singer, a guy named Barry Hensler, sang for the Necros. And they also had this sort of Motor City, they had this Motor City vibe, like a real appreciation for the MC5 and the Stooges, and you could hear that in their sound as well. And they also loved like late 60s, early 70s funk music. And that really comes out on this record as well. So yeah, mainly they were a metal band. That's mostly what they did, metal / hard rock, a little punk. But this is in a lot of ways kind of a funk rock album. Mack Avenue's Skull Games. Mack Avenue being like a main street in a main road through Detroit. The storyline, as best as I understand it, it's almost like kind of like an Elmore Leonard novel or something, or a blaxploitation film from the 70s. It's about like a love triangle between like a Detroit pimp and a prostitute and some rich guy from Grosse Pointe. So yeah, that's the whole idea for the record, and the songs are about, they sort of take in everything, just about everything that Big Chief ever was interested in, it seems. There's definitely a lot of sort of like greasy wah wah funk workouts. There's like these guys definitely really liked Funkadelic's Maggot Brain. They've got the like movie type incidental atmospheric tracks. There's a hardcore song, and then there's 2 or 3 or 4 hard rock songs, but that are leavened by soul and funk. The art is pretty impressive too. I've just been showing the front, but one of the band members, I forget which, he did all the art on their albums, and this is the most lavish. These are all the street names. These are a bunch of street names in East Detroit. In the record itself, pretty impressive. Okay, my second one is, this is from last year actually. Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats, Nel Ora Blue, which is the soundtrack to A Fake Giallo. Uncle Acid they've been around a little while. They are, I guess you would call them kind of a tuneful, garagey doom band. So they're a metal band, but they're kind of lo-fi sounding, and they're heavy. You get the Sabbath riffs and all that, but you also get these melodies that could be out of a Beatles song or something. So it's an interesting combination. And there's this sort of running thing with people talking on the phone. It's all in Italian, so I have no idea what they're saying. But that runs throughout the soundtrack. Interspersed with, again, atmospherics. There's a lot of instrumentals. There's a few songs that kind of sound like Uncle Acid, if you like them. There's a few songs that are a little bit heavier, but even those are sort of gialloed up. There's more keyboards. Maybe there's some, a saxophone or something like that. So yeah, the giallo, by the way, was sort of a species of cheaply made Italian film of basically lurid sort of crime movies, sometimes veering into like slasher style horror films, sometimes a little more psychological. Yeah, they're fun to watch. And again, the whole thing, it plays really well end to end. This is epic stuff. And that's it.
I'm a cutter. Pain meditation.
Insects are evil thoughts.
How's your ocean? Perverted, inverted.
Can I have your autograph? He said to the fat blonde actress.
I listened to The Bone.
Carry on, my wayward son.